Hello viewers, I'm your host Uzma Jafri with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show with India, which recently hosted its maiden Persons of Indian Origin Parliamentarian Conference at the Pravasi Bharatiya Kendra in New Delhi. Over 140 lawmakers and mayors of Indian origin from 23 nations converged in the capital as part of the conference. A report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the first Persons of Indian Origin Parliamentary Conference aimed at boosting ties with various countries by leveraging the diaspora links. Lauding all the non-resident Indian parliamentarians for their achievements, Modi said they had always treated the other countries as their homes, but did not forget their homeland. Asserting that bodies like World Bank, IMF and Moody's were looking at India positively, Modi said his government was aimed at uprooting corruption.
रिफॉर्म टू ट्रांसफॉर्म, ये हमारा गाइडिंग प्रिंसिपल है। हमारा उद्देश्य है पूरी सिस्टम को पारदर्शी और जवाबदेह बनाने का, करप्शन को जड़ से खत्म करने का। आज पूरे विश्व का भारत पर फोकस बढ़ रहा है। विश्व का हमारे प्रति जो नजरिया बदल रहा है, तो उसका मुख्य कारण यही है कि भारत स्वयं बदल रहा है, भारत ट्रांसफॉर्म हो रहा है। यह बदलाव आर्थिक, सामाजिक स्तर पर होने के साथ ही वैचारिक स्तर पर भी आया है।
Modi affirmed that his government had initiated far-reaching policy reforms for the growth of Indian economy. Owing to the landmark reforms brought in by the government, the foreign direct investment FDI inflows into the country reached $60 billion in 2016-17, and India's ranking in the Ease of Doing Business Index improved to 42. External Affairs Minister of India, Sushma Swaraj, personally called on the various guests and delegations. Swaraj has gained widespread popularity for she has shown an immense personal interest in the dealing with the grievances of Indians across the world. All guests described India as an emerging superpower and termed the event a wonderful initiative by the Indian government, which, according to them, is poised to yield political and economic benefits to the country.
Well, I think everyone is looking up to India for their support and the things happening around the world. And India is one of those who has got huge influence on the international politics. That's why everyone is keen to interact with India, and we hope that that will be the way that things are.
India has the world's second largest diaspora after China, with more than 25 million people settling overseas since colonial times, from Guyana in South America to Singapore in East Asia.
Pravasi Bharatiya Divas also commemorates the return of Mahatma Gandhi from South Africa to Mumbai in 1915. Moving on, now we talk about Pakistan, where 370 terrorist attacks were reported in 2017, killing 815 and injuring over 1,700 people. A Pakistani think tank report says Balochistan and FATA remained critical areas as Islamic State ISIS has increased its footprints in Pakistan. We have a report.
December 17, 2017. Two suicide bombers attacked a church in Quetta city of Pakistan's Balochistan province, killing at least 9 people and injuring at least 35 others. The assault, claimed by Islamic State, is one among the deadliest attacks in Pakistan last year. It raised concerns about the security of religious minorities, especially Christians, in a country with a dismal record when it comes to the treatment and protection of religious minorities. A report by Pak Institute for Peace Studies, an Islamabad-based think tank, reveals that despite a 16% decline in terrorist attacks in 2017, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and its associated groups remained the most potent threat. The report says the growing footprints of Daesh in Balochistan and northern Sindh is quite alarming. However, analysts believe the terrorists based in Pakistan pose a threat to the world.
Jihadi terrorists in Pakistan are a threat not only to the world but also to Pakistan. Unfortunately, Pakistan's approach to them has always been very selective. Some groups have been attacked by the Pakistani military and they have been dealt with, but others have been encouraged, including some that are being brought into the political mainstream, like Hafiz Saeed's Lashkar-e-Taiba. I think that the international opinion on this subject is very strong, and Pakistan not heeding international opinion is going to hurt Pakistan.
Pakistan has been sheltering, arming and funding terror groups against Afghanistan and India. Recently, the United States suspended security assistance of $255 million and $1.3 billion annual aid to the Pakistani military and demanded decisive action against Taliban factions based in the country.
Despite facing strong international opposition, Islamabad has failed to strike against these terror outfits. To know more on this, we are now joined by Professor Naila Qadri Baloch, head of World Baloch Women Forum. Professor Naila, why these terror outfits having their base in Pakistan, especially areas bordering Afghanistan?
Over the past year or so, we have been listening a lot about the striking routes of Islamic State in FPAC region. While IS indeed making inroads in FPAC region into the area, but that's half the story. IS has not emerged out of thin air or operating via lone wolves. IS is operating in a very organized manner. The reality is that the Pakistan's thoroughly discredited mercenary army needs a space, needs a cause to keep it relevant in the fast changing space. And who can serve this better than IS? It's Pakistan Army's, Pakistan Army intelligence establishments, rogue elements who have midwifed the IS in the region.
Thank you, Professor Naila, for your views. Moving on to Afghanistan, where a standoff between Afghan President Ashraf Ghani and Atta Mohammad Noor, the powerful provincial governor Ghani, is trying to remove from his northern stronghold, is increasingly turning into a battle over next year's presidential election. A report.
Atta Mohammad Noor, a Jamiat-e-Islami leader and governor of strategic province of Balkh, has lashed out at the incumbent Ashraf Ghani government and has called it weak, lazy and corrupt. Noor accuses Ghani of trying to remove a potential rival and divide Jamiat ahead of presidential election likely to be shaped by the ethnic fault lines that dominate Afghan politics, notably between Pashtuns and Persian-speaking Tajiks.
جرم معمی است که علیه تروریسم جنگیدیم با غرب متحد باقی ماندیم. جرم معمی است که در برابر زورگویی‌های با اصطلاح یا دزدای ارگ و سپیدار نه گفتیم. جرم معمی است که عدالت واقعی اجتماعی و سیاسی در سرتاسر افغانستان می‌خواهیم. جمعیت یک پارچه هست و یک پارچه انشاءالله باقی میمانه. ولی هیچ وقت در کنار دکتر عبدالله دیگه اعتماد نخواهد بکنن. چون دکتر عبدالله ضعف خود به نمایش گذاشت، در تمام بی‌کفایت‌ها شریک است و در برابر تمام جنایت به تفاوت باقی مانده. دیگه جمعیت به سر دکتر عبدالله سرمایه‌گذاری نمیکنه.
Last month, Ghani had accepted Noor's resignation from his post. But Noor says the letter, which has not been made public, was conditional on steps that Ghani has not taken and has refused to go. The deadlock, which has alarmed Western embassies and sparked fears of civil violence, has highlighted a fractious political climate that threatens to undermine recent battlefield successes from the sharp increase in US airstrikes last year.
رئیس و اعضای رهبری جمعیت و متحدین ما این مسئولیت به دوش شما بانه حتما کاندید هستند.
Ghani has not said anything publicly about the standoff, and spokespersons have also refrained from speaking anything in public. People believe that the deadlock must end at the earliest so that the enemies cannot capitalize over the fraught situation in the country.
تا که دشمن از این سوی استفاده نکنه و جناب والی صاحب در واقع در ولایت بلخ خدمت خود کرده و مردم طرفداری هم است که باید جناب والی صاحب در ولایت بلخ باشند.
خواستی ما از دولت مرکزی خصوصا جناب صاحب اشرف غنی و رئیس اجرایه همی است که همی تنش‌ها و اختلافاتی که در دولت رخ داده همی را محو بکنند. همی والی ما را گشته در جایش برقرار بانند. ما از همی والی خوش هستیم، تا جای بسیار زیاد خوش هستیم، از هیچ کدام شکایتی نداریم. در مزار الحمدلله آرامی است، کار و بار خوب است. ما بودن همی والی از این کار هم بهتر میشه اگر همی والی باشه، اگر نباشه داعش و طالب و القاعده چیزا جای میگیره.
Noor was a former commander in the anti-Soviet Mujahideen and is considered one of the richest men in Afghanistan. He has faced repeated accusations of corruption, which he has denied.
In 2015, Human Rights Watch said there was strong evidence that he controls and funds local militias implicated in serious abuse. Moving on. The Special Envoy of the President of Maldives and Foreign Minister Dr. Mohamed Asim called on Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj. The meeting came after 2 months of diplomatic deadlock between two countries over China's growing involvement in the Malays' decision-making. A report.
After weeks of a diplomatic deadlock between New Delhi and Male over China's increasingly growing influence in Maldives' decision-making, external affairs ministers from both the countries met in New Delhi, not just to resolve the differences, but also to strengthen bilateral ties between them. The Special Envoy reaffirmed his government's India-first policy and emphasized that Maldives attached the highest priority to its ties with New Delhi. Indian Foreign Ministry conveyed its commitment to achieving the full potential of both countries' relationship in line with the India's neighborhood-first policy. Asim also met Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and both leaders asserted on strong bilateral ties amongst them, flourishing on the plank of a shared history, culture and maritime interests in the Indian Ocean. Maldivian Foreign Minister reiterated that his country would not undertake any activity which would harm Indian interests, and it would also be conveyed that the country was sensitive to India's concerns over peace and security in the Indian Ocean region. The statement was declared only after India sought Mali's role in keeping with India First policy and when a query was raised on Maldives-China Free Trade Agreement. Asim also reiterated President Yamin's invitation to Prime Minister Modi. Incidentally, Maldives is the only country in South Asia which Modi has not visited since he assumed office in 2014.
His proposed visit to Malé was cancelled in March 2015 as the domestic political situation in the island nation was not considered to be conducive for the Prime Minister's visit. We are now joined by Dr. Smriti Patnaik, a political expert on South Asia. Ms. Patnaik, what, according to you, are the areas of concern for India in the state of Maldives?
I think India has majorly three concerns. One is that the fact that the influence of external powers in Maldives, especially Chinese attempt in acquiring island there and also its expanding influence. Number two is that, as you know, Maldives is a very important country in the Indian Ocean region, and therefore, it is significant to India's overall security perspective in the Indian Ocean is concerned. Third is that in the past Maldives has witnessed political turmoil, which is actually continuing. So therefore, there is this question of destabilization, internal destabilization, which actually would mean that the government will become more authoritarian in controlling the opposition. So therefore, I would say these are the three major concerns which India has as far as Maldives is concerned.
What, according to you, should be the joint objective of both countries from here on?
The two government, both New Delhi and Malé, has a lot of things in common. For example, the historical and cultural contacts between the two countries has been very deep, and it has a historical context. And second is that India has been a very important developmental partner. It has signed a development partnership agreement with Maldives in 2011, and also recently when Maldives faced the crisis of drinking water, India was the first country to provide drinking water to Maldives. So therefore, given the geographical proximity of the two countries, I think that is something which should matter much more, because if Maldives is in crisis, the country which can reach faster is India.
Thank you, Ms. Patnaik. Moving on to the country of Himalayas, Nepal, which was hit by a massive 7.8 magnitude earthquake on 25th April 2015. The country was left with a humanitarian crisis and devastated heritage and cultural resources. More than 3 years since then, local craftsmen and people have come together to restore their ancient monuments. We have a report.
Houses and heritage of this ancient city of Bhaktapur were reduced to rubbles by the massive earthquake that hit Nepal in April 2015. The story of despair doesn't end here. Incompetent authorities with poor administration and corrupt officials, procrastination in dealing with the sensitive issue has made the story even more painful. The locals, after getting tired of prolonged delay in the government reconstruction programs, took the onus upon them and took the initiative to rebuild ancient monuments through a community initiative that will prioritize the use of local resources and traditional building methods.
हामीले सबैजनाको घर ऐतिहासिक रूपमा भक्तपुरको परम्परागत किसिमको घर बनाएर त्यसमा हामीले पर्यटन व्यवसाय गर्ने र त्यही घरको मान्छेले त्यही घरमा काम गरेर लङ टर्मसम्म सस्टेनेबल भएर काम गर्दाखेरि एउटा रोजगार सृजना हुने र यो बाटोमा यो ठाउँमा सबै किसिमको व्यवसाय गर्न सकिने गरी एउटा कल्पना गरेको थियो। यसमा घरहरूको बनोट एकै किसिमको होस्, यहाँको वातावरणमा सबै किसिमको सुविधाहरू होस्, जसले गर्दा पर्यटकलाई दिन सकिने चीजहरू सबै यसमा समावेश हुँदाखेरि
Kathmandu Darbar Square, a UNESCO heritage and one of the 3 Darbar squares in the Kathmandu Valley, was also damaged by the earthquake, and it also met the same fate of being neglected since then. A social entrepreneur who is also working to restore the beauty of the city says the problem has proven to be a blessing in disguise and has yielded multiple benefits apart from just getting the structures rebuilt.
The earthquake of April 2015 has brought several benefits to Nepal. Although the loss of life, the damages are regrettable. First of all, it has brought the communities, together, which is very important. But secondly, in terms of the heritage, in terms of the intangible heritage, so people now have come together to restore, their heritage.
The earthquake not only decimated the buildings but also took away the jobs, leaving people lurching in poverty. These people are hopeful that their region has great tourist potential, and once it is given the shape of what it looks like in the past, their area will witness an influx of thousands of tourists. Martha Yonrik, a Polish tourist who is also willing to invest in Nepal, blames Nepalese government for its lethargic response to the rebuilding of the heritage sites.
You don't think it's 1 year since the earthquake coming to that village. You see only 3 houses rebuilt, and the rest of the houses, the stones lying on the ground. So it's like it has happened a month ago. But yeah, people want to come back. They want to rebuild. Speaking with our friends, yeah, they can't imagine living anywhere else.
Hundreds of Hindu and Buddhist temples and shrines that dot the Kathmandu Valley are the focal points of urban and village communities, and restoring these spiritual centers will be key to rebuilding Nepalese communities. These are not just the places of worship where the Nepalese honor their gods and goddesses, but are also places where villagers or urban communities come together to exchange news, market goods and produce or draw water.
With a strong government ready to take charge in the centre, Nepal is expecting a speedy reconstruction which will give relief to those who have been reeling under the different weather conditions since 2015. Moving on to India, where the International Kite Festival was celebrated with great joy and enthusiasm by kite lovers. The participants got to relive their childhood during the annual Kite Festival. We have a report.
The blue skies saw dragons, frogs and even lizards flying during the International Kite Festival, which kicked off in western state of Gujarat. The International Kite Festival, held annually in the state, sees participation from different countries and various states of India. Countries like Israel, Japan, France, Kenya and many other nations took part in the event, which was held in different cities of the state. As many as 150 delegates from 44 countries and 100 enthusiasts from 18 states in India flew kites in the competition in Ahmedabad.
It's very nice and it's very funny to meet all these people, both Indians and international.
Kites of different cartoons, superheroes, shapes and size dotted the skyline. Kite Festival, held across the state, saw the presence of many big names and politicians. Overall, people in the festival were seen enjoying themselves to the fullest.
We fly our Aladdin right now. It's 12 kilos, 13 meters. We made it for India here, and I hope the people enjoy it.
इतनी बड़ी बड़ी पतंग है यहाँ पे, हमें देख के मतलब बहुत मजा आता है, ये कभी देखने को नहीं मिला.
The 7-day Kite Festival has been taking place in Gujarat every year since 1989. The festival coincides with Uttarayan or Makar Sankranti, which marks the days of the Hindu calendar when winters begin turning to summers. It is the country's largest kite festival, during which the entire state takes to the roofs.
People fly kites in the run-up to the festival celebrated every year on January 14. With that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Goodbye and take care.